Good morning, everybody. So what I want to do is look at what's going on with the coronavirus, and I'm starting to look at making comparisons between countries because we have a lot of good data. And the other day I did this first comparison looking at the U.S. and Sweden, and I focused only on the prevalence, which is, and the prevalence is actually the cases that you have per 100,000 population. Now the thing is that with anytime you calculate something like the prevalence, you have to say, well, what is a confirmed case? So, I mean, who gets tested? In some countries, not everybody gets tested. Like here in the United States, we tend to only test individuals who have really severe symptoms. And in Pennsylvania, we urge individuals who do not have severe symptoms, even though they've come in contact with somebody, even living in the same house with somebody who has confirmed symptoms, to not go to the hospital and get tested. So they become presumed cases. So, but are they counted or they're not counted? No, they're not counted in our confirmed case count. So this muddies the way we do our calculation. So, but still, it's actually very informative. And I compared Sweden to the United States because of what Sweden's policies are in terms of closing businesses, like restaurants and schools are open. So in Sweden versus in the United States, pretty much all schools are closed. I can't think of a place where schools are open. And like in Pennsylvania, schools have been closed for the remainder of the year. We don't even know if we're going to have graduations or not. So every place is different. And so in terms of cases, and when we look at the odds, people in Sweden are 86% less likely to be a confirmed case than in the United States. So this is an odds ratio. Odds are the probability of success divided by probability of failure. If we consider success, and this is only a statistical term, as being a case, failure would be 1 minus that. So it would be 1 minus whatever the probability is of being a case. So the odds is that division, and then an odds ratio is a ratio comparing two different odds. So I'm dividing the odds for Sweden by the odds for the United States. So Sweden does have a lower odds of identifying a case. And this is the 95% confidence interval. This is the interval in which we believe with some certain degree of certainty that the true population value would reside. In terms of deaths, though, and I put green for good and red for bad, deaths, if one is confirmed with the coronavirus, they're over 2.25 times more likely to die in Sweden than in the United States. So that you see, it's not all rosy there. But I do say that this has a lot to do with the disparity in hospital beds per 1,000 in relation to proportion of the population that's 65 and above. If we look at Sweden falls right here. This is population density. This is hospital beds per 1,000 individuals. This is case fatality, probability of dying if one is a confirmed case, and this is the proportion of the population 65 and above, where we see this mirroring between the hospital beds per 1,000 and population 65 and above. We see lower case fatality, but in Sweden and in many countries up here we have this gap. So that's just a hypothesis. That's nothing that we need to investigate this more. Let me put it that way. So with this HB65 index, this is the hospital beds per 1,000 divided by the proportion of the population 65 and above. If you look at this, there's a clear inverse relation between this index and case fatality. So, and again, Sweden's up here. So that might explain something. In the U.S. we're somewhere around here. The United States is right here. So doing a little bit better, and that's confirmed by that case fatality odds ratio that I compared. By the way, that is a statistically, if you're interested, I did a nice regression analysis controlling for population density, and we see that if you look at the probability value, that's the probability of the observed result given the null hypothesis is true. Null is what you're attempting to reject in statistics. You assume that there's no effect. So that's significant. And in terms of, so I also compared Luxembourg to Sweden. And the reason I did that was Luxembourg has a tremendous prevalence for the coronavirus. I mean, if we look at Luxembourg here, there's 457 cases per 100,000. I mean, they have a smaller population. It's a much more dense area. Yet their case fatality is low. It's about 2%, 2.2%. So 2.2% probability of dying if one is infected with the coronavirus. So if we look at comparing Sweden to, or Luxembourg to Sweden, so it's Luxembourg, so the odds of identifying somebody who's a coronavirus case in Luxembourg are almost 3.5 times higher than in Sweden. And again, this is the confidence interval. However, they are 84% less likely to die if infected with the coronavirus in Luxembourg than Sweden. So let's look at Luxembourg in this nice figure again. I didn't compare Luxembourg to the US. I'm a little bit busy right now, so it's really hard for me to get everything. So look at this. This is where they're at. So they have a nice mirroring of hospital beds to the proportion of the population 65 and above. So this, and you can see their case fatality is lower, even though they have a higher population density. These are the density colors. I don't know what all this means in the long run. I mean, what I'm hoping for is that we learn how to deal better with having older populations and being better prepared for such calamities, so we don't have to shut down everything again in the future. But it's just some information, food for thought. And the last thing I was doing, I was trying to do this for somebody who had asked me about Boston, but I'm not getting really good data yet today in terms of deaths and recovered. I have New York City. There's 147,000 cases. That's a lot of cases, and their population is 8.5 million. So there's a lot of cases there. So I'm not making these calculations because I wanted to make a comparison, and I need Boston numbers. Boston, I guess, we get numbers for Suffolk County. I'm not really sure how that's pronounced, versus we get better data for New York City. But the question was, is Boston becoming a hot spot? It's hard to say. I would think not at this point, but again, I'd have to see more data. But anyway, I'll definitely look at that. Thanks, everybody. Have a safe and healthy day.